Hello children, welcome to my online classes. You know that we are studying the lesson The Living World, and we have studied the defining and non-defining characteristics of the living. Continuing the lesson, today we shall study about the diversity of the living world and contribution of Corvus Linnaeus to the field of biology. I have been telling you the world would be totally colorless without these wonderful, beautiful, colorful living organisms. We find wide varieties of living organisms. The organisms differ from each other in shape, size, habit and habitat. Shape and size together we call structure. The food habits are different. The living places, habitat, the living places are different. For example, consider a camel and a polar bear. Camel is a huge animal living in a desert, dark brownish in color, whereas polar bear is white, living in colder regions, snow regions, and their food habits are also different. Or consider a neem tree with a tulsi plant. They differ from each other in shape, size of every part of the plant. The life on earth is exhibited by different forms of living organism, which we call diversity. There are thousands and millions of varieties of plants, animals, fungi, algae and microorganisms on this earth. In order to study and appreciate the living world, we have to make a scientific identification, classification and naming of organisms. One of the oldest and classical branches of biology is called taxonomy. Taxonomy is a branch of biology which deals with the study of identification, classification and naming of organisms. Why should we do this? First of all, nomenclature, giving a scientific name to an organism. We speak wide variety of languages. For example, snake is an English word. How is a Kannada word. In the same way, The same organism, snake, is called by different names in different languages in different places. Because worldwide people speak different languages. So we need to have a common scientific name for all organisms so that everybody can understand it. That's one part of the taxonomy. In the same way, identification, when you see a new organism, how to describe it scientifically. And classification, what is that organism, in which kingdom it belongs to. Classification of organisms is also based on the methods suggested by Carolus Linnaeus. Carolus Linnaeus is called father of taxonomy. Why? Mainly for his two important contributions. Number one, he explained us the Linnaean hierarchy. How to classify the organisms in different taxonomy, which I will be explaining you in my next class. Another important contribution of Carolus Linnaeus is binomial nomenclature, naming of organisms using two words. So, dear children, Carolus Linnaeus' name will remain on this earth until we keep studying taxonomy. And taxonomy cannot be neglected when you are studying biology. So, two important contributions of Carolus Linnaeus. Number one, the method of classification suggested by Carolus Linnaeus, which is called Linnaean hierarchy. Number two, the method of naming of organisms as suggested by Carolus Linnaeus, which is called binomial nomenclature. What is binomial nomenclature? What are the universal rules of binomial nomenclature? These things we are going to study in this class, which I am going to continue with the help of our wonderful PowerPoint presentation. So children, let me take you to the PowerPoint presentation. Well, I hope the slides are clearly visible to you. Diversity of the living world. Life on earth is exhibited by wide varieties of living organisms. First of all, we classify the living organisms into 5 different kingdoms. Namely, Monera, Protista, Mycota, Plantae and Animalia. You consider only Animalia kingdom animals. Sir, in animals also we find wide varieties, sir. In plants also we find varieties. In fungi we find varieties. So, the life on earth is exhibited by wide varieties of organisms which differ from each other in shape, size, habit and habitat, which is called biodiversity. Each different kind of plant and animal or organism that you see represent a species. Yes, human being is a species. A rose plant is a species. A parrot is a species. An elephant is a species. Wide varieties of plants, animals, and organisms which we see in nature around us are all different species. And the number of species that are known and described range between 1.7 to 1.8 million. Even today, in places like Amazon forest, every day newer and newer varieties of living organisms are being identified and described. Very little amount of the living world is being explained, and that little is nothing but 1.7 to 1.8 million varieties of species have been already identified and explained, described. This wide varieties of living organisms present on this earth, which makes our earth so wonderful, colorful, beautiful, is called biodiversity. There are different wide varieties of organisms present on this earth. Hence, these millions of plants and animals in the world, so there are millions of plants and animals, there are millions of fungus, there are varieties of algae, there are varieties of microorganisms. We know the plants and animals in our surroundings by their local names. We call neem tree, mango tree, we call a horse, elephant, dog, cat. The local names in our local languages are different. These languages, these words are different from place to place, making the study of the living organisms more complicated. Because the language which we speak in our state is not the same in the neighboring state. And worldwide, there are hundreds of languages people speak, and the same organism is given different local names, which is not understood by the people of the other places. So it is necessary to give a particular name to the organism that can be understood by everyone, all biologists in particular. Hence, there is a need to give a standardized name for living organisms, such that particular organism is known by the same name all over the world. This process is called nomenclature. Giving a scientific name for the living organism so that the biologists all over the world understand. For example, we are human beings. ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾನವರು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ, ಹಿಂದಿ ಒಳಗೆ ಇನ್ಸಾನ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ, ಇಂಗ್ಲಿಷ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಹ್ಯೂಮನ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. ದಟ್ ಮೀನ್ಸ್ in different languages the human are called by different names, but biologically we are called Homo sapien. You use the word Homo sapien anywhere on this earth, in any language, it refers to that you are talking about human beings. So the process of giving a common name scientifically to an organism is called a nomenclature. To give a name, you have to identify and describe that organism scientifically. Otherwise, you can't give a scientific name. It's not like naming a child born in our house. ಫಾರ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ ಕೆಂಪಯ್ಯ ಅಂತ ಹೆಸರಿಟ್ಟಿರ್ತೀವಿ, ಕರ್ರಗಿರ್ತಾನವ. ಗಣೇಶ ಅಂತ ಹೆಸರಿಟ್ಟಿರ್ತೀವಿ, 6 ಸಬ್ಜೆಕ್ಟ್ನ ಫೇಲ್ ಆಗ್ತಿರ್ತಾನವ. ಹಿಂಗಾಗಬಾರ್ದು, ನಾನ್ ಸೈಂಟಿಫಿಕ್ ಆಗಬಾರ್ದು. Nomenclature or naming should be scientifically, which is possible if the organism is scientifically properly described. That scientific description of an organism is called identification. In order to facilitate the study, number of scientists have established procedures to assign a scientific name to each known organism. This is acceptable to biologists all over the world. Every biologist in the world should accept, yes, this is proper scientific name. That means we have to follow a particular methodology for identifying, describing an organism scientifically and giving the name scientifically, which will be understood and accepted by all the people worldwide. This is very essential. Dear children, we know that in the recent days, due to human activities, we are spoiling this earth. We are cutting away the forest. We are polluting the environment. We are responsible for climatic changes such as global warming. As a result, many of the organisms are becoming extinct forever. It is our responsibility to protect each and every organism. We should allow them to survive. In order to make every organism to survive on this earth, we should know them first of all. If we don't know, if we have not described any organism, we cannot protect them. An organization called International Code of Biological Nomenclature. You have to write down all these things. International Code of Biological Nomenclature is applicable to both plant and animals. An international organization called as International Code of Biological Nomenclature. Nomenclature means the method of scientific naming to an organism. It may be a plant or animal. International Code of Biological Nomenclature is responsible. Whereas, particularly for plants, there is an organization called ICBN. ICBN, International Code of Botanical Nomenclature. Botany is study of plants, you know that. Expand ICBN, one more question. International Code of Botanical Nomenclature is applicable for plants. If you identify a new plant, how do you understand it is a new plant? You will go for references. Already there are millions of plants been already explained. You go and refer them, and if you don't get the name of it anywhere, that means you have seen it for the first time on this earth. At that time, you have to describe it scientifically and give an appropriate scientific name and send it to International Code of Botanical Nomenclature. If they accept it, it will be used worldwide for that particular plant. In the same way, International Code of Zoological Nomenclature, ICZN, International Code of Zoological Nomenclature, ICZN, is applicable for animals. Okay, children? Next, what is this binomial nomenclature? Carolus Linnaeus is called father of taxonomy. Taxonomy is a branch of biology which deals with identification, classification, and nomenclature of organisms. Carolus Linnaeus has done tremendous contribution in this field, taxonomy. So he is called father of taxonomy. One of his contribution is binomial nomenclature. Binomial nomenclature. The method of scientific naming of an organism. It may be a microorganism, it may be a fungi, algae, plant, or an animal. Biologists follow universally accepted principle to provide scientific names to the known organisms. Each name has two components, the generic name and the specific epithet. ಯಾವುದೇ ಒಂದು ಜೀವಿಗೆ ವೈಜ್ಞಾನಿಕವಾಗಿ ಹೆಸರನ್ನು ಕೊಡಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಎರಡು ಪದಗಳನ್ನು ಬಳಸಬೇಕಾಗತ್ತೆ. Two words has to be used to scientifically name an organism. The first word is called a generic name and the second word is called specific epithet. This system of providing a name with the two components is called binomial nomenclature. The method of scientific naming of an organism using two words, namely the generic name and specific epithet, is called binomial nomenclature. See that word, binomial nomenclature. Bi means two, mono means one, tri means three. In the same way, bi means two. Nomial means name. Nomenclature, the system of naming. Namakarana madu. Binomial nomenclature is nothing but scientific naming of an organism using two words. For example, human beings are called Homo sapiens. Homo refers to the generic name, sapien refers to the species, the specific epithet. And this method was proposed and is internationally accepted universally everywhere, which can never be changed. Was suggested by Carolus Carolus-Linnaeus. You have to write the spelling some 10 times so that you don't misspell it. Carolus. Linnaeus. Carolus-Linnaeus. So Carolus-Linnaeus suggested the scientific method of naming of organism, which is called binomial nomenclature. And this is the person, Carolus-Linnaeus, who is called father of taxonomy. How Carolus-Linnaeus has suggested binomial nomenclature? He has suggested the rules, 5 rules. Sir, scientific naming, how can I scientifically name an organism? Follow binomial nomenclature. Sir, how it is? It follows the universal rules of nomenclature. Everywhere, any person belonging to any country, speaking any language, has to follow the following rules to name the organism. Then only it will be accepted universally. It get approved by International Code of Biological Nomenclature. The first rules is, binomial nomenclature is method of naming of organism using 2 words. In that, the first word in biological name represent the genus. Generic name is genus, while the second component denotes the specific epithet. I already gave you one example. Homo sapien. Homo refers to the genus name. The word sapien refers to specific epithet. In the same way, another example I am going to give you. Mango is written as Mangifera indica. Mangifera indica, in which Mangifera represents the genus, indica represents the species or the species specific epithet. If you make a careful observation, the scientific name for mango, Mangifera indica, they are not united, they are separated because they are 2 independent words, number 1. Number 2, Mangifera, the genus name, is started with capital letter. Indica, the species name, is started with small letter. And they are italics, they are bending towards one side. If you have observed it, they are the coming rules. The first word denoting the genus starts with the capital letter, while the species specific epithet starts with the small letter. Whichever organism you write the scientific name, it should have 2 words. The first name word is the genus, second word is the specific epithet. The genus name should always start with capital letter. The species word should start with the small letter. That is the second universal rules. I mean, universal rules means everyone should follow it. These words, look at the third rules. Both the words in the biological name, when you are writing handwritten, you can't mix the genus name and the species name. They have to be written separately and underlined separately. You can't mix them. Homo sapien, there should be a gap between the 2 words. Homo should be underlined, Sapien should be underlined separately. Don't put a single line for both the words while writing. If it is in a printed form, when you are typing it, you select those two words and go for italics. Rules number 3. Now, the rules number 4. Sir, in which language should I keep the name? Sir, I am from Karnataka. I will give a Kannada name. 2 names I give in Kannada. People will not understand. Then English is okay, sir. English is also not spoken worldwide. So, Carolus Linnaeus suggested to use Latin words. Latin is not a spoken language in the present world, but it is in the written form. It has in the literature it is there. So nobody can be very proud it is our language used for binomial nomenclature, because no people speak Latin. So it is universally accepted the biological names should be present in Latin words and should be written in italics. Lastly, name of the author who has first time described that particular species, it is called name of the author. Sometimes, generally for all organisms, 2 words will be there. Sometimes third name will also come. That is the name of the author. For example, Mangifera indica Linn it is written, because the naming for mango tree as Mangifera indica was first time described by Carolus Linnaeus. So his name is at the end. Which can be used by people or not. But you will be authorized. If you also identify and describe and name an organism for the first time, your name in short form will be the third word. So there are 5 universal rules of nomenclature. What are they? We'll have a quick glance of them. The first word in the biological name represents the genus, while the second component denotes the specific epithet. Secondly, the first word denotes the genus and is written here. It starts with the capital letter, and the second word denotes the specific epithet, and it starts with the small letter. Thirdly, both the words genus and species, when handwritten, are to be written separately and underlined. When it is in the printed form, they should be in the italics. Number 4, the binomial nomenclature demands naming of organisms in Latin language. Lastly, the name of the author comes at the end after specific epithet in the short form. We have an example here. Binomial nomenclature. Felis domesticus Linn. The house cat. The cat which you see in your house. Biologically, it is called Felis domesticus Linn. Felis is genus name. Domesticus is a specific epithet. Linn stands for Carolus Linnaeus, who has first time described it. See, as it is in printed form, they are in italics. When it is in written form, they will be underlined separately. So, dear children, I am coming to the end of the class, and yesterday I have given my phone number also. You can please see this class 1 time, 2 time, 3 time until you understand. After that, immediately read the same content what I have explained in this class using the textbook. Write down the important points, words, underline the important terminologies. Then also, if you find any difficulty in understanding, yesterday I gave you my phone number. You can just message or call me anytime, 24/7, but don't use my number for any other purpose. And I hope you remember my phone number, 9535820108. Thank you. Please take care of yourself. God bless you, children. Bye-bye.